Hello everyone, welcome back to It's a Wonderful Podcast. I am Morgan Robinson, as always joined by Nolan Dean for another episode. Nolan, we are well into February now. February, it's a difficult word to say. Nolan, do you find any month difficult to say like I do?
I've sometimes had a bit of problem with September, to be honest, because I just keep thinking of that song from Green Day.
Well, that's fair. That's understandable. I can't say this current month, apparently, and I'm not even going to try again. But we are now at episode 43 of the show, and this week we are talking about a wonderful little Sidney Poitier film called To Sir With Love.
Very fitting, since he is Sir Sidney Poitier.
Yes, honorarily, and I believe he was he was raised in the Bahamas.
Good place to be raised.
This is, however, a British film set in a really dodgy school in London.
Yeah, from the East End. You don't.
The East End of London.
Basically, I'll sum up this for our American listeners. The East End of London is like the third floor corridor in Hogwarts. You don't go there unless you want to experience a painful death.
I don't think. Well, it's probably a lot better now. Isn't the Olympic Park in the East End of London? I'm
My
pretty
point
sure it
exactly.
Is
Angry sports fans.
Well, that's true. I mean, you get a load of West Ham fans.
Yeah, no one wants to deal with them
over there. It's a bit harsh to any West Ham fans.
I highly doubt the West Ham fans are listening to this podcast.
How do you know? They might be.
Because they're probably too busy throwing their controllers at FIFA.
That is okay. West Ham fans, don't come at me. This is all on Nolan, who doesn't like the East End of London, and this is quite kind of fitting actually that we're doing a movie set in London this week, as next weekend I'm in London for the Top 10 show live with John Roker and Matt Nost, as well as a couple of our friends who are going to be here, Rachel Silvestrini, Janine the Machine, and it's going to be a great time.
Janine's coming to London?
She is.
Fuck, I wish I could fucking come down now.
Well, you see, you have to be on these things.
Oh, damn you fucking lack of money and no jobs at the moment.
See, Nolan's depressed now, but we can liven his mood by talking about this movie, as it is a very heartfelt movie. It's a very sweet movie, and like I said, it stars Sidney Poitier in the lead role, as well as a bunch of, like, older British character actors. Who in their younger days were here. You've got Judy Geeson, Suzy Kendall, who was the female lead in The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Dario Argento's movie. Is it Dario Argento? Oh no, it's not Dario Argento, but it's a giallo movie.
I was thinking like Mr. Suspiria there is now being connected to this.
Yeah. Bird with the crystal, but it's not Dario Argento, is it? Bird with
wings,
the crystal plumage, is. It is Dario Argento. I got my giallo directors mixed up. I was convinced it was Mario Bava for a second, but it isn't Mario Bava. Ignore me and everything I say. But yeah, she's in this, as well as Lulu. Who also sings the main song that's repeated throughout the movie, which itself is called To Sir With Love, and it's a nice song. It's a pretty big name at the time to have Lulu in this kind of smallish movie.
It's very 60s, like from the way it's used in the movie.
It's very 60s. It is remarkably 60s, because it is from 1967, and 1967, by the way, seems to be the year of Sidney Poitier, because he had this. He made 3 films in 1967. This one, In the Heat of the Night, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. So
good year for Sidney Poitier.
King Poitier over here, just ruling 1967, and I'm all for it. But what did you make of this movie? Because it's kind of a small movie with big with sort of like a big cast in terms of name.
It reminded me a lot of one of my favorite movies of all time. That's Dead Poets Society. It's a
I get
very
that completely.
very similar kind of theme, like a sort of authority figure breaks down boundaries for a bunch of students who don't know what they're doing with their lives, and they just kind of grow together and become like a second family.
Yeah, I think where it's may differ from Dead Poets Society. Dead Poets Society is, where it differs from Dead Poets Society is this one. It has the race element in there.
Yeah, Dead Poets Society is more focused on like the poetry and the artistic side of it.
Yeah, and it's got a little bit of class stuff in there as well.
Yeah, very much so.
Because all these kids are very working class. They come from generally poor backgrounds.
Can I get a little nitpick out of the way first?
Yes, of course.
This is set in England, but why the hell are they using American terms to describe schools? Like kindergarten? No one says that in the UK.
Some people do.
I always assumed it was called nursery.
It is, but I know that there are kindergartens in the UK. And who knows? And I think some of them were from... Because Sidney Poitier's character is Mark Thackeray. It's said that he taught in the US for a while.
Him doing the US stuff makes sense. The students doing it who've grown up in East London, that kind of took me out of it a little bit. But otherwise, it's a really great movie.
I don't think I noticed it as much as you did then. Maybe I'm just desensitized.
I suppose.
I don't know.
Well, you did spend a whole summer in LA. You're basically American now.
Well, I'm basically American. I mean, I will admit to basically being American, even though that's not true. Please make me American.
How many frappuccinos have you had this morning?
Card, Donald. 0.
Lies. You're probably drinking one right now. You're hiding it in the camera.
I don't even like cold coffee. I don't know what you're talking about. Is Frappuccino even got coffee in it? I mean, sometimes it has, sometimes it hasn't. I don't know. I drink coffee. Hot.
Okay,
coffee hot and black as it should be drank.
Well, this episode of Let's Make Fun of
Coffee
Morgan
talk.
for a bit, and then move on to talking about the movie, is now
This
over.
episode of It's a Load of Coffee Talk is now over. And we will move on to talking a bit more about this movie. But I like how you bring up Dead Poets Society, because it is the case of it deals with respect a great deal, from the students to the teacher. The story progresses as you expect it to. There's no real shocking sort of surprise in this.
Thankfully, no character that we know or come to love dies like in Dead Poets Society.
No one dies or anything. Well, somebody does die.
But you
actually.
don't
That's
see
not
the
true.
person who died on screen at all, but
No,
you still
you
get the impact. We'll get into that later, though.
You definitely do. But it's interesting because, like, I was expecting the race element to be in it from the first whistle, from the very, very start, and it kind of isn't.
It's not really in there for a lot of the movie, to be honest.
It isn't, but it is made a point of, like, towards the sort of end of the second act, and it's sort of brought up, and it's kind of nice that it's not all about that, because you feel like, I think there's always a clear difference between British movies and American movies.
When it comes to racial stuff, yeah.
When it comes to racial stuff, when it comes to dramas, because British movie, and no way is right and wrong. It's just kind of, generally speaking, British movies deal with drama within them in a kind of quiet way and very subtle, sort of, like the most impactful moment, or the most heartfelt moment is right at the end of this movie. I feel like in a American movie, or in Dead Poets Society, for instance, they're all, standing up on the tables and whatever and clapping. There's kind of none of that. It's just sort of, yeah, let's just give him a gift at the end, and
Which kind of
to
feels
show
more true to what students actually do, at least in British schools, because I've seen that happen to teachers who've had an impact on kids.
exactly. And I don't know if in American schools, because we didn't go to an American school, perhaps they do start applauding their teacher at the end of the term. I don't know. We'll have to get some insight on that
I'll
from someone.
I was tempted a bit to do the "Oh Captain, my Captain" at the end of my final school year.
God's sake. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, you would never find "Oh Captain, my Captain" in "To Sir with Love."
No, you wouldn't.
You get
It wouldn't fit.
It wouldn't fit. Yes, okay, you get a nice song from Lulu, who basically, yeah, is in there for this song. Even though she puts in a pretty decent performance, to be honest.
There's clear
As Babs.
There's a clear difference here between Sidney Poitier's character and Robin Williams. Robin Williams feels more like he's trying to be a guide and a friend to the students, whereas Sidney Poitier, he has that about him, but it's more about them teaching them respect, really.
It really is.
He has more of a
Poitier,
presence, like more of an authoritative presence.
he definitely does. He's very. He is still the authority figure throughout the whole movie. Whether he's being, treating them as children towards the start, or then coming to realise that, wait a minute, I should, treat them as adults and this will get more out of them. And then he goes on to teach them all respect, and they all come to respect him, but they come to respect him as the teacher, not as one of them. He's never considered one of the students, but he's considered, like, you're the good teacher,
It's a very laissez-faire type kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you took business studies and learned that term, but that's...
I did not. Explain that for anyone who doesn't know.
Laissez-faire is... Yeah, it's actually quite common in a lot of these kind of movies. It's sort of the father figure type role. Like, say, Mr. Miyagi and Ralph Macchio. It's that kind of thing. They teach respect, they have moments of heart, but at the end of the day, you listen to them and you respect them. It's tough but fair.
It is. Exactly, and Sidney Poitier is very much that in this movie. It's almost sort of the I mean, he's always able to give like a bit of a stern performance.
He's very good at that. I would have loved to have seen Sidney Poitier. I don't know if he's done it, but if he's ever played a villain, I would really love to see that, because he's got kind of a menacing voice about him.
I don't know. I think he has. I just think he's got way too much pleasant charm about him, even when he's, maybe losing his temper for a little bit. Or
that scene did scare me.
During the strange boxing match that happens, you're always sort of glued to Poitier, because he does have that about him, that a commanding presence on the screen. It's something I give to Cary Grant as well, who has just a presence that just keeps your attention. Not a lot of actors have that. The real greats do, and Poitier is one of them, where you are just focused on every word he's saying, every action of him, every movement, every facial expression, because it's just all going in some way to have an effect on you and have an effect on the movie, because he is that good, and he doesn't have to do a lot. I think that's what's also good about him, is that you can change your voice ever so slightly, or just give a little flick of a smile, or those eyes can sort of squint down, and his face can be stern, and then just, 2 words, whether it's sit down or, stop. It can just have such a radical effect, whereas some performers, and I suppose that goes to the writers as well.
Yeah, definitely. But you feel it through his performance. Like, I don't know if he was nominated for anything for this, but I feel he should have been.
No, I don't think he was, because he was nominated for In the Heat of the Night, which of course was also this same year. So I don't think he won. I think he only won. I think his only Oscar was for Lilies of the Field, I want to say.
I can also see how he might have influenced more modern actors. Like I could see him influencing like a Denzel Washington or someone like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely he did. I mean, he... I feel like Sidney Poitier is the first... He's the first black huge movie star that
I could see that
transcended everything. You know, that everyone knew who he was. Of course, there was big, African American, British, African British movie actors and big names in the industry. But I always feel like Poitier is the first real sort of, well, literally everyone would go out to see a Sidney Poitier movie. And I read something about this film, because it is kind of this sort of smaller British film, that it didn't do as well here as it did in the US,
which is kind of
simply because of Poitier, though, because people just went out in droves to see the new Sidney Poitier movie, like you would at that time to see such a high caliber of actor.
It's like how people feel about Idris Elba nowadays.
Well, do people fly out in droves to see the latest Idris Elba movie?
No, but he's another actor with a huge fan base. Like I see him for any like character of color role. I always see Idris Elba being suggested for it.
He certainly is, but I mean, the way people consume movies changed. People went to the cinema, the movie theater, so much more decades ago. And you could rely on a actor's name to sell a movie. There is not, and you can throw Dwayne Johnson at me all you want, he doesn't come into this either. There is not a single star, male, female, whatever, who you can put on a poster these days and guarantee that movie sells. Because it's about the concept. It's not about the star. Whereas back then, it was all about the star. You went and saw the Sidney Poitier movie. You went and saw the Cary Grant, the James Stewart, the John Wayne, the whatever.
I feel it's more about the directors nowadays.
Could be also, yeah. The directors also do have a focus. Nobody really cared who directed it, unless it was, the huge directors, the Cecil B. DeMilles, the Howard Hawks, the Frank Capras of the world, the Hitchcocks.
Kubricks.
Until you get to, obviously, the 70s with the new wave of independent cinema where directors were given more freedom to do whatever they wanted. That's when you went and saw the new Scorsese movie, you went and saw the new Coppola movie, or the new Kubrick movie or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't imagine any of those directors taking on something like this. This definitely feels like a more small-scale, personal kind of story.
No, it is, and yeah, I mean, what are some of, like you say, would be your sort of standout elements to this? Aside from Poitier's performance, is there anything about it thematically or something that spoke to you?
The stuff that I kind of was more drawn to was the relationship he had with his students, and particularly one of the students who's basically every 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s movie jock. You know who I'm talking about? Who constantly challenges Sidney Poitier, like, at several points, and at some points you're just like, for fuck's sake, dude, will you just show some respect? But you can see kind of, it's like a power shift kind of thing, because he's kind of like the big dog before Sidney Poitier comes in, and then it's kind of like you're coming in on my territory and I'm not happy about it kind of thing.
Absolutely is. That is Denham, played by Christian Roberts, who is that particular... He looks like someone from Grease, and by that I mean the musical.
I don't know if any kids in the UK did the whole leather jacket thing. I assume that was an American fashions thing.
Look, I'm sure they did. You don't know. You weren't there.
Then again, this would have been after the whole James Dean Rebel Without a Cause thing, so it could have caught
certainly,
on.
Yeah.
Because the UK probably got that movie like 10 years too late.
Well, look, I don't know. I don't know enough about the international release system in the 50s and the 60s, but yeah, he is the Denham is the he's the one who sort of comes around to respecting Mark Thackeray, the latest.
He's the closest thing this movie has to an antagonist.
He is. And he kind of is for the most part, but I mean, there's no strict villain. There's no one that really, is there to be defeated.
Yeah, there's no like slimy superintendent coming in to check on the class or some shit.
I mean, it could have been, it could have been easy to put maybe one of the other teachers as a supremely racist teacher, for instance.
I thought that was going to happen with one of the teachers, but it didn't.
Yeah, so did I. You're thinking the same guy, surely. You're thinking of Weston,
the guy who looks like a young Mr. Burns.
Yeah, you're thinking of Weston, who, towards the start, keeps bringing up like black magic and voodoo and stuff because.
Yeah, he says a lot of like really. It's like coded racism, kind of.
It is It is casual racism, which is unpleasant, and
it's like passive aggressive.
It's only because I feel like it's only because Mark Thackeray says that he was born in Guyana, which is in North South America. Around it's on the coasted with the Caribbean Sea, so voodoo, yeah, okay, it's big in that part of the world, but what, you can't just go around suggesting these things, and that's Weston's. He's kind of a small character, yeah, sure, but
I feel like if this was made in America, he would definitely be the antagonist.
I mean, I don't know because to have a obvious antagonist would lessen the impact that this movie has, because I think it works far better being a way more simple story of just learning to have respect for other people, learning what it means to be a human, a good human being, a loving human being, a respectful human being. And that's what this movie really is about. It doesn't have to have the big showdown between...
I mean, that dance-off.
The dancing at the end is wonderful. I don't know if Sidney Poitier could dance or not.
Well, yeah, don't go into the dancing thing expecting, like, Step Up or something.
It's not great. It's very 60s, yeah, but even for the 60s, Sidney Poitier, or at least the character, is not a great dancer. Compared to the kids who, and we get we get in some instances we get the 30-year-olds playing 15-year-olds kind of deal.
Yeah, definitely.
But that didn't bother me so much. You just kind of have to look past that sort of stuff.
The other thing I really loved was the relationship he had with Pamela.
Yeah.
Like the student-teacher relationship.
Yeah.
Because he kind of becomes like a father figure to her.
Very much so. Very much so. And,
it's even kind of implied that she might have a crush on him.
It is. I don't think... I'm glad that
I'm glad that wasn't like a focus or anything. It just... You can see it in her eyes a bit.
You can. But I almost think it's a platonic love. It is a... she's never had anyone like this in her life. Even her own father isn't. We learn who isn't in the picture anymore. He's moved to the north. And
well, I'm in the north. You can have him back.
I'm in the north. You're in the true north. You're in the different country. You're actually in the south of your country. So
Fair enough. Even when I'm in the north, I'm not in the real
You're in the
north.
real north. The real north is the Shetland Islands and only the Shetland Islands. And that's all you're allowed.
Geography,
Geography of Britain. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming to this lecture on the British Isles and locations of places. Thanks. Goodbye. No.
The scene with the gym teacher also was like, what an asshole.
Yeah, and you get very little of him as well. But you don't...
Good, because he has the most punchable face I've ever seen from a gym teacher character. We were talking about PE teachers last week, and then one comes in here and is a total dick.
Yeah, he's kind of what you envision teachers of the time to be. Let's just hit the kids and be done with it. You know?
Yeah, and like I've heard stories about that from like when my parents were in school,
course.
And it horrifies me.
Of course, it's why we need teachers like Mark Thackeray to come in and be respectful to his students, to treat his students as adults, not as children, and they will learn way more, as evidenced with this movie.
I always love teacher characters in movies. Like they're usually like the best parts of their movies.
They're always the focus of them. Well, they tend to. Okay, do you mean like even
in small ones, like smaller ones would be like, say, Perks of Being a Wallflower. Yeah. Paul Rudd's the teacher,
and like Woody Harrelson in Edge of 17.
Yeah, and Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society.
Well, yeah, but he is the focus,
and even to an extent, Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid.
I guess so. Yeah, I think
I like the teacher-student relationship because I had a close relationship with a lot of my teachers, specifically my English teachers.
Yeah, and I always think it's great. It's you know, as much as you may remember the horrible teachers you had in life, you remember the really good ones, the really impactful ones, so much more and with so much more reverence.
This is one of those movies that would make me want to become a teacher.
Yeah, I think any aspiring teacher should watch this movie.
It's like people always say like those who can't do teach, which I've always viewed as a very shallow interpretation, because teaching can be one of the most rewarding jobs you can ever have.
Exactly, as evidenced at the end of this movie when at the beginning we learn that Mark Thackeray is actually an engineer who's been out of work.
And he's looking for a teaching position. He's never done teaching before.
He takes this teaching job, and towards the end he gets offered an engineering job, but then at the very end, the very last shot, he rips up that letter of letter of employment and carries on being a teacher. I believe there was actually a sequel to this movie.
Yeah, a made-for-TV sequel, because like at the end you see these like really, it looks like extras from Greece coming in and going, man, like, hey, I'm in your class next term, and you see a look in his eye like, oh shit, I've got more work to do.
Yeah, I think in the sequel, I only read the little plot summary of the sequel, but he moves to Chicago after 30 years of teaching in London. And he has to deal with basically the same sort of inner city kid problem there in mid-90s Chicago. So
bloody hell.
I don't know.
We're like Kevin McAllister as one of his students.
Kevin McAllister might be one of his students. Kevin McAllister is certainly a psychopath enough to be in a No, I'm sure Kevin McAllister's family would pay for some sort of horrendously expensive private education.
Yeah, like in Switzerland or some shit.
In Switzerland, they'd send him off to Switzerland. Go to Switzerland, Kevin. Would Kevin McAllister work in Switzerland? Italy? I feel like Kevin McAllister...
I don't think he would work in Italy at all. He'd probably like be setting booby traps around every pizzeria he could find.
It's dangerous to put Kevin McAllister anywhere. Kevin McAllister is the true villain of Home Alone. Just saying. I am entirely on Joe Pesci's side. In fact, I'm on the side of the old man, the neighbour, with the shovel. I'm on his side in Home Alone. He's a sweet man.
That makes a lot of sense.
He's a sweet man who's scary. And why am I talking about Home Alone? This is not.
I don't know. This happens a lot.
It does. We'll let it happen. We'll let it happen. I like letting it happen. I don't think you like letting it happen. But it's going to happen anyway. I don't know. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, Sidney Poitier does by far give the best performance in this movie, but I also like the smaller moments with, like, the other teachers.
Yeah, like I said before, Suzy Kendall, who played the female lead in The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, she's pretty good. She's like his... she's Poitier's, right-hand woman in terms of the teaching. She's the closest friend he has as one of the other teachers, and she accompanies them on their outing to the museum, which has one of...
Which is summed up in, like, a little photo montage.
Has one of those nice photo montages that you like so much in the middle...
I do like photo montages.
In the middle of movies, where instead of, going to the expense of shooting film in the museum, they instead just went to the museum and took a load of photos and edited them together instead, and I imagine that saved the production a lot of money, yet it still works the exact same, so credit to those guys for being frugal with their money. I don't know.
Yeah, and there is some kind of like heartwarming stuff where he's going down to the market and all the parents of the kids are there.
That might actually be my favourite scene in the whole movie. The fact that the parents of the children are so respectful towards him because of what the children have, because of what the children have told their parents about him. They instantly recognise him, and they're giving him oranges. The one woman gives him a bunch of oranges, and it's very nice and you see the sort of the satisfaction on Poitier's face. That's just like, I'm doing good. I'm doing good here. This is what it all means to me, and
I like that it went for that instead of the more predictable element where maybe the parents aren't too happy with him teaching their kids or some shit.
Well, yeah, but I don't see why they wouldn't be happy with him teaching their... Do you are you going on the
because
race angle?
That's the trope that usually happens in these things. If a teacher strays from the norm, parents get pissed off.
Yeah, I guess, but I suppose these parents only want what's best for their kids, and it just so happens that their kids are in a very unfortunate position in not only being in that school, because we're led to believe they have been like expelled from other schools, and they've all been...
Denham was definitely expelled from other schools.
I think the head teacher at the start, or it might be Western in fact that says it, was that everyone in that school has been brought in from other schools. So I interpret that as being expelled from other schools and brought to this particular sort of lower quality of school that now happens to have this particularly innovative teacher. And I just think that's where the parents are coming from, because obviously the parents can only do so much to, the kids will, if they want to go out and cause trouble, they will do it. And it's it's kind of their own fault they're in this school. And I just think the parents are very thankful, as we see, to Mark Thackeray for teaching them, more respect, more adult responsibility, and, courtesy, and all that sort of stuff that's way more important than knowing what 12 times 11 is,
What is 12 times 11?
Come on. You've not been out of school for this long. 12 times...
134?
12 times 11.
134.
130... Think about it. 134.
I did think about it.
134. 12 times 11. Is it?
Yeah.
It's not, though.
Yeah.
It's 132.
Fuck maths.
So, I'm glad you were taught respect, courtesy, and adult responsibility, and not, the
Hey,
more important.
I said my English teacher, it's not my maths teacher.
Yeah, that's fair. English is way more important. So come at us, maths. We don't care. No one who likes maths.
Keep your Pythagoras theorems and your algebra and your calculus and
You're garbage to yourself.
Shove it up your fucking protractors, mate.
You're very aggressive today.
I hate maths with a passion. There could not be a more useless subject.
Especially when literally everyone is carrying around a calculator in their pocket. It is a very... Well, I suppose it's not useless, though, is it?
Unless you're a mathematician or you're like an engineer or something where you need that stuff.
It's very useful to certain people. It is also...
No one needs to know Pythagoras theorems.
No, but also engineers don't need to know how to analyse novels.
Fair enough.
So it's kind of the same for everyone with different things. And I'm on the side of, yay, let's analyse novels and never talk about triangles again. But
never talk about Timothy Chalamet's again.
Talk about Timothy Chalamet's face. Let's talk about Timothy Chalamet's face. Let's not. Because he is maths, as he is a triangle, as we all know. If Sidney Poitier was a shape, he would be... what's my favourite shape? I don't think I have a favourite shape. A trapezium.
I'd say he'd be a cylinder.
A cylinder? I don't like cylinders.
He's perfectly rounded and has a good body. A good body of work.
He's fairly well built.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair to him, as we see in the boxing match that he has.
I was trying to make a metaphor there, and then it just completely failed.
What? Please explain what metaphor you were trying to make.
He's a well-rounded person, just like a cylinder.
He's a well-rounded person. He always plays well-rounded characters.
Yeah, just like how a cylinder is.
Just like how a cylinder is. Okay. The boxing match. Because I want to talk about the boxing match.
That's another thing where Denham's trying to poke a bit of his "I'm the real big dog" around here.
He is. It's Denham's last fight, really, for want of a better word.
That kind of reminds me of a lot of kids from my school who used to do that with teachers.
What, fight teachers?
No, try and challenge their authority or undermine them or humiliate them in some way. There would be some that would be asking my music teachers to do rap battles.
Oh, for God's sake! Yeah, you'll always get those kind of people, and yes, they may annoy everyone in living memory, but school wouldn't be school without those kind of people, and school would absolutely not be school without teachers putting those people in their place.
Yep.
And it being the single funniest day of all school.
And it's pretty fulfilling that not only does Sidney Poitier's character beat him in the fight
with one punch.
With one punch. He's one punch
to his stomach. He's one punch man. One punch to the stomach and Denham's just keeling over.
But then he gets him a paid position as a boxing teacher?
Exactly. That is respect. That is pure respect. Poitier or Mark Thackeray. I'll stop using Poitier's name. I just like saying it, Nolan. I just like saying the name
Poitier.
Sidney Poitier.
It is a beautiful name.
It really is.
It sounds like something. It does sound like something you'd put at the end of a dish to make it sound fancy, like chicken Poitier.
It sounds like a dessert. I'll have a lemon Poitier, please. Oh, that's very fancy. I'm going to create a dessert. I'm going to call it a lemon Poitier. What will be in it, I don't know. It'll probably make everyone ill. But
you're not that bad a cook.
I'll do it. I can't make desserts though. Not about
That's
that.
why you buy desserts.
Or just don't eat dessert.
I say that, but I've got 2 cheesecakes in my fridge.
You're going to eat those, aren't you?
Yeah, they're 65p a pop. Can you blame me?
No, I can't. Is one of them a lemon Poitier cheesecake?
One of them's a lemon swirl cheesecake.
That's close enough.
Mm-hmm.
Just call it, get a marker pen.
My brother loves the toffee ones, and I accidentally gave him the lemon one by mistake. He thought it had gone off.
Oh, that is funny. That is funny. But I think that boxing match is secretly the, Mark Thackeray's biggest showing of respect, because he doesn't rise to what Denham's doing.
He doesn't rub it in his face either.
He doesn't. He just deals with the situation and shows his respect 2 minutes later by telling Denham that he will speak to the head and maybe get him a part-time job teaching boxing at the school.
And all things considered, Denham would probably be a better gym teacher than the current gym teacher of that school.
Certainly, especially with the newfound respect.
I believe that the song "Who Ate All the Pies" was written because of that gym teacher.
The song "Who Ate All the Pies." I would like to know the origin of that song. If anybody doesn't know, of course, the song "Who Ate All the Pies" is a common particularly in the lower leagues football chant that you will hear when a particular player, referee, opponent, fan, or manager, or anyone really, is a little overweight. You will hear thousands of people sing that, and football fans, and me included, when I am at football, are unpleasant. I'm a different human being when I'm watching a football match, as some people know. Other people don't know, and I'm glad they don't know. Now they do know, and I've outed myself. Oh no, what have I done?
Remind me never to play FIFA with you.
FIFA I'm okay with. It's actual football. I just get annoyed. I don't know. It's built into me. I don't like it. If I had my choice, I would not be a football fan because it stresses me out too much. But that's just me, Can't get out of it now.
Try working at a football match and tell me you get stressed out.
It's a prison, Nolan. It's a prison. Being a football fan is a prison. This is why I like watching other sports that give me joy.
X Games. Fuck yeah.
Not X Games, you weirdo. Not X Games. And certainly not... I actually wanted to bring this up. This made me laugh in the movie as well. Where they're just kicking a can around, playing football with the can.
I reckon that's more to show, the sort of class, the poor class society.
Of course it is, but I remember kicking a can around in the schoolyard playing football because you weren't allowed a ball unless you were on the pitch. I remember doing that.
That still happens. My mates kick bottles around at university now and try and get me involved.
Well, maybe they're a bit old for doing that if they're in university, but, go and get a football and go on a field.
You can't really do that in the current weather.
Of course you can. Play football is an all-weather sport, unless it's heavy snow.
When it's frosty, not really.
No, I suppose you can break your ankle.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants a broken ankle from unnecessary playing of football. It would be most unfortunate. I also, speaking of the movie again, To Sir With Love, want to bring up the students' relationships with each other.
Which is actually kind of the part I zoned out a bit for, to be honest.
Okay, why do you think that was?
I didn't find it as interesting as the relationship they had with the Sidney Poitier's character.
Admittedly, neither did I, but even the fact that they, were instructed to call each other, they call them the men by the surname and the females Miss. It's just this other level of respect and courtesy that's brought into the movie, and I think it helps develop the students' relationships with each other very well, from the kind of, aggressive and occasionally brutish and just kind of mean relationships they had with each other at the beginning.
Yeah, although it was funny to see Denham try and pull a number on that girl and then get flat out rejected.
It was very, very funny and very deserved.
And then that other gentleman acts like a gentleman, quote unquote.
He does.
And he gets to dance with the girl. Fair enough.
He does.
Good on
exactly.
you, mate.
Because that's the right thing to do. Because that is the right way to go about that, as he was taught by Mark Thackeray. So it all works. It all works out, and it helps the students' relationships with each other. It helps their courtesy towards one another, and for a movie that is this kind of movie set and produced in the late 60s with Sidney Poitier, there's a hell of a lot of use of the word slut towards the beginning,
which is it's probably just an of the time thing.
Well, I mean, I guess so. I just don't think I was expecting it. You very rarely hear that word. I mean, it's not like it's not the world's worst word, but you very rarely hear.
It's definitely not a kind one, though.
No, it isn't. It's an unpleasant word. But that kind of, it threw me off just a little bit.
Yep, same here.
But I think it was slightly aggressive, but also, at that point in the story, Mark Thackeray hasn't realised that he needs to treat these people as adults yet. It's like right after that where he sort of figures that out. That's the real turning point, or at least the first turning point.
When he loses his temper over they were burning. I don't know what it was they were burning, but
I interpret that as presumably a female sanitary pad or something of that nature.
How the hell would you burn that?
I don't know why you'd burn it, but that because of how he reacts to it. He sends all the boys out. He keeps all the girls in. He keeps, he says stuff like, there are some personal things that need to be kept personal, and he sort of shouts this stuff, and he keeps saying, well, he says like the word slut or sluttish like 3 times. That's how I just think that's the most logical thing that it was. I mean, it's never outright said. I might be completely wrong and completely off, and please hate me if I am. But I just think that's kind of the most. I don't know why you would. I don't think it needs to be explained. I just think it's a case of trying to make a mockery of the new teacher when they still don't respect him at that point in the movie.
I can see that.
I don't think it's a really an unnecessary, or not an unnecessary. It's a insignificant part of a very significant scene. I think he could have lost his temper about anything, and it would have led to the same conclusion.
You most likely.
Yeah.
Teachers do have. But you don't want to get a teacher on their bad side with their temper. It's not a very pleasant situation.
It isn't. But what, is so... What you can really appreciate about Mark Thackeray is that at least, 3 seconds after he loses his temper...
He
realises what he's got to change. And that's the kind of the best way to be.
Did you ever have a teacher lose their temper in a classroom?
Yes. Not that they ever stopped losing their temper. I mean, I was in certain classes with very problematic people. I also had some teachers that seemed to thrive on being shouty. I also had some teachers that were very, very similar to Mark Thackeray, and I certainly remember those with far more reverence than the shouty people, or the more aggressive style of teacher. I don't know.
I've never
You
really
get a
been a
lot
fan
of
of
different
shouty
ones.
teachers.
No, I mean, why would you be? There's
I
no
genuinely
purpose.
don't believe that shouting solves anything.
There is no purpose to it. There's no purpose to it, apart from at football, of course, where you just have to shout, because it's football and it stresses you out.
Unless I'm shouting like in praise of something, I don't see the need for it. It just hurts your voice.
It does.
It's pointless. It makes me feel like I've smoked a pack of cigarettes all in one go.
It does. Okay, as I think we are sort of coming towards the end of our discussion of To Sir with Love, is there any little final things you want to say about this movie? Apart from the fact that it's just kind of a really kind of heartwarming, sweet, respectful movie.
The part where he hears that the kids can't go to a coloured person's house because of gossip, his reaction to that, to me, was kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because you can sort of see him just thinking it over and then kind of trying to laugh it off, but you can tell he's just doing that to kind of put a show on, to show he's not being affected by it.
I was hoping you would bring that up.
That there's such a tragedy to that.
There is.
And it's all in his facial expressions.
There is, because he clearly hadn't thought of that being a possibility. Or, you know,
or maybe he knew and he wasn't prepared to deal with it.
Or perhaps, yeah. Or perhaps he did. No, and yeah, it is a really good scene. I think that's the biggest sort of racial element in the movie. During that, where because the one mixed race kid that's in there, his mother dies. He's got a white mother and a black father. His mother dies, and it is kind of the saddest moment where he very slowly walks into that class and just kind of breaks down and tells everyone.
Yeah, it was that was like one of, I think that's the closest they have to the Dead Poet Society of the kid dying.
Yeah, definitely is. And yeah, the students, again, showing respect for their other students, they sort of pool together and buy flowers and a wreath for the funeral. But they are, you know, reluctant to take it to the house because it's not a white household. And it does affect Mark Thackeray, quite clearly affects Mark Thackeray. But I think, you know, towards the after that, which is kind of another, you know, high impact moment, you've got the losing the temper, you've got this, and then you've got like the full happiness of the dance. I think are the three big emotional moments in the movie. This sort of makes him realise that he also has to teach the students, you know, love for all, and, you know, there's no different, doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, where you come from, you know, we're all human beings, and it's just that other level of respect that is taught, that is necessary, you know.
Yeah, and it was another one of the high points for this. Another smaller moment I just found kind of delightful. Him teaching them how to make salad.
Yeah, the cooking scene. It is kind of delightful, and it comes back, of course, at the end because Lulu's character ends up making the salad for the dance, despite the fact that she says that she doesn't even like it.
I mean, it looked like a pretty bland salad.
It didn't look nice, admittedly. It didn't look very nice. I don't think I'd eat that salad.
Salad shouldn't just be like vegetables and mayonnaise. That's basically a shitty coleslaw.
But what it is, it's Lulu's character, Barbara, Babs, taking on the lessons she's been taught by. It's just an example of that. Yeah. It's an example of her taking on the lessons she's been taught, and just so we as the audience see her then as, she's got this as well as the rest of them. And of course eventually Denham gets it as well, and it ends very, very pleasantly, which is I was very thankful for.
Yeah,
very thankful for that.
It was a very heartwarming little ending.
Really was. And
a great movie.
Yeah, a great movie. I'm very glad we got to cover that. A new discovery, which is always something that is nice that we like to do on the show here. That, I think, will about wrap us up for the main discussion on the movie. Nolan, is there anything else you would like to talk about towards the end of the show this week?
Well, just what we're doing next week.
Just what we're doing next week. Well, next week we do have quite a fun thing. I've also realised that it seems to be Charles Dickens that brings out this in us.
Yes.
Nolan, why don't you go ahead?
If that wasn't big enough a giveaway, you guys know that I love books.
No, really?
Oh
my God.
Yeah.
Nolan, I thought you were a mathematician.
Oh, fuck off. But no, we're going to be talking about probably one of the most adapted and my personal favourite Charles Dickens book from the 40s, starring Alec Guinness.
Yes.
Which is a very fun casting that I'm looking forward to seeing. We'll be talking about Mr. Oliver Twist.
Guess what else we're talking about as well?
You're very excited about this, so you go ahead.
Like I said before, Charles Dickens seems to bring this out in us, and for those who listened to the holiday special where we covered 2 different versions of A Christmas Carol, we're doing 2 different versions of Oliver Twist. One of my favourite movies of all time, the favourite movie of my entire childhood. For those who know me fairly well, you'll know that I wasn't really a movie child. I was kind of a movie teenager. But this was my favourite movie of my entire childhood. Oliver, the musical from 1968. We are also covering next week, doing another double episode, and who knows what the next Charles Dickens, maybe Great Expectations, let's call it that. Let's do Great Expectations in 3 months' time.
Or David Copperfield, or anything like that.
No, David Copperfield's way too long, and David Copperfield.
Yeah, but thankfully we're not going to be talking about the Roman Polanski version.
Polanski did a version of
in
Oliver.
2006 he did Oliver Twist with Ben Kingsley being Fagin.
See, I've always just watched these 2. As you might expect from me, especially Oliver 1968 and Oliver Twist 1948 are next week's big double episode again. The first before musical March, which we are ramping up for, and it's going to be great. And I'm so excited.
And next week you'll have to tune in for this, but there's a reason I picked Oliver Twist, and it may have something to do with a certain book I'm writing now.
I thought you were going to say you would become the leader of a gang of pickpockets in London.
No.
Another London-based film as well. We're doing a lot of London-based films. Not a lot. That's three London-based films. We're having a bit of a London fortnight, if you would call it. If you would.
Well, I'll bring the crumpets. You bring the tea cakes.
Certainly, let's do that. I'll happily sit here eating and chewing into the mic. I'm sure that'll please everyone's ears.
Jesus
to no end. But yes, guys, that is going to be next week. Nolan, I know sometimes you like to bring up some, news from the film world that may have interested you this past week sometimes. We don't have to if you don't want to, but...
Well, not really much has been happening, but I can tell you there's going to be some pretty good stuff on Netflix this weekend.
Is there?
Yes, I showed you this when I came to Manchester, but the Dragon Prince from the creators of The Last Airbender, their Season 2 premieres this Friday.
The animated show.
Yeah, and a very interesting Netflix show for me, based off Gerard Way's comic and starring Ellen Page and a couple of other great actors, The Umbrella Academy, which looks like a really fun take on the superhero genre. Check that out on Netflix too.
I finished season 3 of The Good Place this week.
That show is hilarious.
It is still one of the greatest shows currently on television. It is the best, and I love it so much.
And also, go check out The Kid Who Would Be King, because I hear it's not making a lot of money, and it sounds like the kind of movie that should.
I hear it's terrible.
I've heard it's just not making money, but it's great.
I don't want to see that.
And also,
I don't want to see it.
If anyone cares, I actually think it looks surprisingly decent.
Well,
Disney dropped a Frozen 2 trailer yesterday.
Yeah, like I've watched that.
Yeah, I doubt you have, but it's got me kind of strangely hyped because it looks like it might be a bit about climate change.
They only dropped that because Aladdin Will Smith genie bombed hard. That's the only reason they dropped that trailer.
See the thing about that Aladdin trailer? I don't even care that the genie CGI looks weird. Like, I expected it to look strange. I'm more pissed
I'm not going to see it.
I am more pissed that they're ignoring all of the great scenery that's available for them to shoot in the Middle East and are just building everything on a fucking soundstage.
Well, yeah. I mean, go and shoot. Even if they went and shot in Morocco or somewhere, or Tunisia, or somewhere, like that. Even if they went and shot in...
Jafar sounds so unthreatening. It's hilarious.
I mean, I haven't seen the full trailer. I've just seen those ridiculous-looking screenshots of Will Smith.
You know how in the original Aladdin, Jafar's quite menacing? And
I do.
Great. In this one, he's like, "Bring me the lamp."
Hello, I'm Jafar.
He sounds like a mustache twirly bad guy from the 60s.
Oh, good. Is that the 1860s as well?
Ugh, yeah, it might as well be. Also, for some reason, they've gone with sexy Jafar for this movie.
I mean, I'm sure sexy Jafar will sell a lot of merchandise.
I guess so, but, if he is sexy, I mean, it kind of takes the whole...
Kind of does. Yeah, kind of does.
Jafar's an old, despicable man thing away.
Kind of does.
They've turned him into a fuckboy. Jafar is now a fuckboy.
I am not going to see Aladdin. I don't see movies anymore, Nolan. I don't know if you've figured that out. I just don't. I just don't.
Some movies
I just don't go and see them.
You will be seeing within the next couple months.
Yeah, they're about there. It's only about 3 though. I'll go and see Captain Marvel. Fair enough. I'll go and see Us.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know after that.
Shazam and Avengers Endgame.
Well, yeah, but they're in a few months. Well, yeah, I suppose they are in a couple months. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, more or less. Check out some stuff on Netflix. Go watch the original Aladdin instead of.
That's what I do now. That's what I do now. I need.
You know what is on Netflix?
There's a lot on Netflix.
The first How to Train Your Dragon.
I should probably watch it. I know.
It's got the same kind of emotional impact as E.T., so take with that what you will.
I'm just not. It
has Vikings in it.
I like that. It does have Vikings in it, which is a big draw. Okay, that's a big draw to me. It does have Vikings in it. But I'm just not ready to give DreamWorks something that might be better than Shrek, and I just don't want that. I just don't want it to be better than Shrek. Because I'm stubborn as a Shrek fan.
I get that. But
I just don't want it.
Don't miss out on probably one of the greatest animated trilogies ever made.
The
only great animated trilogy, probably.
Toy Story.
Well, Toy Story's not really going to be a trilogy.
Yeah, Toy Story is as much as a trilogy as Indiana Jones is. The 4th one doesn't exist.
And speaking of that, I've also been playing Uncharted for the last week.
Fair enough.
Great game series.
Never played it in my life, so I have no idea.
If I come to Manchester before you leave, I'll bring them down.
If I leave anywhere, if I go anywhere, if I leave the world of existence, and
of
before
the PS2
I leave,
games I brought back, I did forget to bring the Scooby-Doo one, so I do have to kind of show you that.
Yeah, you do. So yeah, come back before I leave this existence and move to the good place. Although no one ever gets in the good place. Some people get in the good place. You have to be very good to get in the good place, Nolan.
Sidney Poitier would probably get into the good
Sidney
place.
Poitier would definitely get into the good place. And on that note, what a note to end. Thank you guys for listening to episode 43 of It's a Wonderful Podcast. You can find the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Castbox, Podbean, where we host it, and a bunch of other places. Just search on, your Apple Podcast, It's a Wonderful Podcast. Search on Spotify, It's a Wonderful Podcast. Download the episodes, subscribe to the feed, and leave us nice reviews where possible. And we'll love you forever. And we read out the nice reviews that the rare nice reviews that we get. We will read them out on the show when we get them, even though it takes me for some reason ages to be able to see the reviews. But it will happen. And we love you anyway, because you are listening to the show and you are downloading the show and you are sharing the show, and that puts a big smile on our faces. You can find the show on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One for all the updates about what we're doing, what episodes are coming out, and as we get excited for Musical March, we are bringing guests on, and it is going to be so much fun, and I hope it is kind of there's maybe the start of a next little bit of a stage in the show's existence.
Oh, we're moving up a level.
Perhaps. We're
taking off easy mode, and we're putting it up to normal.
We're not quite on extreme yet. We'll let you know when we get there. It's probably in 12 to 15 years' time when we're on episode 3000. I don't know maths as clearly.
Which we will be talking about the song Year 3000 by Busted.
I'm happy doing that. We'll probably be on to that stage at this point, where we discuss music videos and the like. But yes, you can also find me on Twitter at the Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E in the, because 3 is the magic number, or on Instagram at the Purple Dawn with no numbers, because Instagram likes me better than Twitter does. Nolan, where can people find you?
In Scotland, withering away in my flat, or online at NolanDean27 on Twitter, and my YouTube channel at NolanDean, which Stories as Lessons is coming back after how long has the hiatus been? About
14 years. It's been 84 years, as Rose says in Titanic.
It's been a long time, but I'm coming back with a new video.
Wonderful. We all certainly look out for that, because
you'll have to watch How to Train Your Dragon in order to watch.
No, I won't, though. I'll just watch it.
It'll have spoilers. You'll have to watch the movie first.
I don't care. Spoilers, schmoilers, I say. Never ruins an experience for me. That's a lie, it does. If I knew the end, if I knew the end of Star Wars Episode 9, for instance, right now, I'd be mad. It's why I don't watch trailers, Nolan.
Fair enough.
It's why I don't watch trailers. Guys, thank you once again for listening. Do all the fun stuff, and keep being wonderful. And that's it from me. Nolan, see us out.
To Sir with Love. Oh, Captain, my Captain.
You're a sad case, you know that, don't you? Bye, guys.